What's the pettiest revenge you've ever gotten on someone? There's a specific wine I used to pair with food. The closest Total Wine that had it was a 60-mile drive, and it was storming out. I wanted it for the holidays because I would likely be cooped up inside. So I drove over. This was my typical Total Wine until I moved 2 counties away. Anyway, I went in and picked up the wine and got some other stuff for holiday parties. I was in there for maybe an hour, and when it came time to check out, the cashier asked me for my ID, so I gave it to her, and then she told me she needed to see the ID of the other person I was with, so now I'm confused and say, "I'm alone?" And she says, "Well, I have to go get my manager." Okay, fine. So he came out to tell me that she told him I was with someone and they needed to come back and bring their ID or they wouldn't sell it to me. I told him I wasn't with anyone. He asks to see my ID, looks at it, and says, "Well, unfortunately, you look young." At this point, I'm thinking, are you serious? And he says, "You can come back tomorrow alone." I find it incredibly disrespectful to tell someone they look young while you're holding their ID in your hand, and not to mention, I've been shopping at that exact location for about 4 years and have never had a problem. So I told him about how I drove there and have been shopping there for years and that I even have a second form of ID, and he was just giggling and saying no. So I left very angry, and it was late, around 9 p.m., and then I had about an hour and a half drive back home in the rainstorm. So I was home pissed about it all night, and the next day, I went into the one close to my house to get the other stuff I was getting. They were pleasant as usual, beyond friendly, and didn't even ID me, which just goes to show the other location was on some kind of power trip. Then, I got an email from them to review my experience, which they send every time I go there, and I never do it, but I decided to select the location where I had the bad experience and give feedback on it. So I wrote exactly what happened, and then the next day I got a call from the store manager. Turns out the guy that night was an assistant manager or something. However, he was much more pleasant than the woman who called me. She was extremely rude and condescending and told me that she reviewed the cameras and that someone walked in with me simultaneously, which made us a party. I told her I didn't know them. She said it didn't matter. So apparently, people can't walk into a liquor store simultaneously with you? Then she said that the employees were watching me and that the person left 30 minutes before I went to check out, and they saw it. Okay, so? Also, if that is the case and that is your policy, why didn't you say something when you saw the person leave? We could have cleared up the whole situation right then and there. Instead of continuing to allow me to shop for another 30 minutes and waste my time to know that when I came to check out, you were going to deny it? So I told her, even if that is the case, someone can't leave a store? And she said, no. To complete the transaction, they must drive back with their ID. This made me extremely angry because even if that is the case and that is the policy, at least you can offer an apology for the inconvenience or something like that. I was already over it because it had been about 2 days, but her attitude and nastiness about the whole thing was an insult to injury. So I looked up their policy, which clearly states that this only applies to parties at checkout, so the rule is who is with you at checkout, which makes sense or is at least more understandable. Another policy I read, which was interesting, was that for any online order not picked up within a week, they will issue a full refund to your original payment method. So my friends and I were sitting home drinking, and I told them what had happened. They were all shocked. I used to work retail for a long time, specifically during COVID-19, and I know what an inconvenience it is to set up big curbside pickup orders because they take up a lot of space on the order shelf. So, drunk and mad, I decided to enforce their own policy on them and make a $10,000 order for the soonest possible pickup time, which they promised orders ready in 3 hours. So I made sure to order the cheapest, heaviest bottles I could think of so they could take up the most amount of space in their curbside area, and made sure only to order like 1 or 2 of each so they couldn't just give me a case, they had to get individual ones. I ordered their whole supply of Tito's since it's popular and it's the holidays, and I know people are going to be looking for it. This Total Wine has its curbside order section in the front behind a counter where you can see it. And I know when customers saw it, they would ask for it, and then they would have to explain how someone ordered all 238 bottles, and they're back on reserve. Then they'd probably get grouchy and ask for a manager. But the manager would be busy because I also made sure to order many bottles behind glass, so they would have to run around with their keys scrambling to get this order ready. I worked retail, and I know how much stuff like this throws off a schedule and annoys the managers. So I loaded up the cart, stopped when I got bored, and placed the order. I got the email confirmation, which specified that you have to wait for the pickup confirmation email and that pickup times aren't guaranteed, so I thought they would either cancel the order or call me or something. Well, 5 hours later, I got the pickup email. It took them longer, but I was still surprised. Then, later, I got a pickup reminder email. Then, 3 days later, a second reminder. Then, after 7 days, I got my final notice email. And then, on day 10, I got a phone call. The manager acted like a completely different person this time, asking when I was coming for the order. At this point, I think she knew I was messing with them because it had been 10 days, and she knew my name from the previous feedback thing because when she called, she asked for me by name, and my name was on the order. So I told her, yeah, I went to pick it up and was told I looked too young, so I just went to the other Total Wine and picked up the same stuff there. So then she was mad and said, "Are you seriously not coming to pick this up?" I just said, "Nah." She hung up. When your higher up asked why your store had to refund someone $10,000, explain what you did. They were supposed to automatically cancel the order at the 7-day mark, but she didn't. So I called their customer service line to cancel it, and she told me some stores wait until the end of the month to do it. I assumed the manager was trying to withhold refunding to end the year on a better number. Retail does that. I made them cancel it right then and there.